Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single Saturday, every weekend at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless specified otherwise over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen, where you can have updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you send them on in over to my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. I'm going to have to change that disclaimer coming up pretty soon, and by pretty soon I mean tomorrow, because unfortunately, it's that time of year again, everyone, and I'm not talking about Christmas. I'm talking about daylight saving time, which sucks. Alright, with that all out of the way, I am quite excited for my next guest. He is a legend amongst the Bionicle community, at least if you remember on BZ Power, and heck, even maybe in the modern era if you've seen his video, Bionicle Story, in under 2 minutes. I'm, of course, talking about the man, the myth, the legend. It's Spirit, all capitals.
Oh, you're too kind. And I'd also like to go on the record saying that I also do not like daylight savings time.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's... I don't know what good it does, honestly. Like, it just... There's an increase in car accidents, in heart attacks, like 6 weeks after it switches, and it gives us maybe a few extra hours of daylight. It seems awfully unnecessary.
Yep. Oh, if given the chance, I'd get rid of it entirely.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, my state of Idaho tried. There was a bill that was shot down, and it did not end up getting eradicated. It's the one thing I'm a little envious of the state of Arizona for. They don't have it there.
Oh, I used to live in a part of Australia that didn't have it for 3 years, and
Really?
that was pretty fantastic.
Ah, jeez. What was that like living in Australia? I just my last guess was in Australia, but I never asked.
Australia was pretty fantastic. I would absolutely go back. Nice weather, crazy creatures, nice people. It was fantastic out there.
See, you say crazy creatures, but that's the part of Australia that worries me. I'm deathly arachnophobic. I don't think I could live there for more than a few days.
Okay, so there are larger spiders, but as long as you stay away from the wilderness and from bushes and hedges, you're going to be okay.
Okay.
They're very obvious giant spiders. That's their defense mechanism.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I know they have oh goodness, they're the really small black ones with large fangs. The name escapes me right now. Funnel
Red,
webs? No.
red funnel webs. Well, they have the big spider, or I guess the little spider to watch out for was the redback spider, which if it bites you, you die. Luckily, didn't come across any of those. So,
Yeah, but we have an iteration of that, North America side, with the Black Widow spider. So,
well, I haven't seen any of them either. So I've
oh,
been pretty lucky in terms of spiders.
fair enough. Yeah, no, we have them all over the place down here, and they're I mean, they're not a mess, but they're not fun to run across. It's definitely an
Hmm.
immediate sense of, uh-oh, that's dangerous. So, fair enough. I probably won't ever go to Australia, but I'm good to hear that it's at least a survivable place.
Oh yes.
Fair enough. Well, in that case, let me ask, how have you been? How has things been outside of the nice snowy weather?
Things have been pretty good. Just got back from a little vacation, so I'm feeling re-energized. Work is pretty draining these days, but nothing quite like the week down at the beach to to get you back into the swing of things.
Oh, that's fantastic. And now it's the weekend too, so I'm sure does that extend things at all?
Oh yeah, that definitely helps.
Excellent. That's awesome. I I'm not a beach goer myself. I mean, obviously, we don't have any beaches here, but that sounds relaxing. That's excellent.
Hmm.
All right. In that case, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation today. So, as I ask all my guests, I will ask you, how did you get into Lego and Bionicle and the online community?
Well, I guess Lego's kind of always been there for me. Like when I was like before I have memories, I had Duplo. I remember getting maybe my very first Lego set from my grandpa, which is like a little one of those like early '90s spaceship things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess when I really jumped into Lego, I must have been like 5 or 6 when I saved up all my allowance, and I didn't. I guess I had grown out of Thomas the Tank Engine at that point, and I was like, I need something new in my life. Um, so I went down to the toy store, went to the Lego aisle, and what did I get? I got some pirate sets and some Aquanaut sets,
Mm-hmm.
or the one where maybe like Aqua Raiders, the one where their submarines are shaped like sharks.
Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and look that up real quick. Let me see. I'll just look up shark on Brickset. They usually have a tag for this kind of stuff. Okay, so it's like Shark Scout, stuff like that.
Yes, that's one of the sets I had.
All right, that was a theme called Aqua Zone, and it was a sub theme of
Ah,
that
Aqua
called
Zone.
Aqua Sharks. There we go.
There we go. Some of my first real sets bought with my own money.
Fair enough.
And yeah, from there, like it just kind of took off. I like other things, I guess, kept pushing me back to Lego. Like I registered for the Lego Club magazine, which was fun to look forward to every month. Because like when you're a kid, what other mail do you get other than the Lego magazine?
Fair.
Like I played the Lego Island computer game, um, Lego Loco. I think that's it's more of a quieter game. Yeah, just a whole bunch. And then a friend of mine had some Bionicle sets that I saw, and in getting the Lego Club magazine, I saw the Bionicle comics, and I started following them. I'm like, oh, this is an interesting story. I could get behind this. And then it would have been March 2002 that I got my first sets, which were Tahu, Lewa, Galok, and I think that was it, and some Kanohi packs. And I remember it specifically because I got like the worst case of the flu I'd ever gotten on March break. So I had the whole week off from school, and I was sick the entire time.
Ugh.
Couldn't breathe, couldn't sleep. But I had these new Bionicle sets, and I'm like, well, okay, it's not all bad. And yeah, I mean, this is back when Bionicle.com had the Matt Nui online game, so got into that. Those were the good old days.
Ah, yes. I remember the Matt Nui online game. It's good times.
Anyway, oh yeah, very good times. Anyway, through some Google searches to try to figure out, all right, what's coming next? I hear these rumors about these new silver Borok. What's going on with that? I stumbled upon this news website, BZ Power, and I maybe lurked on there for a little bit, but yeah, it's I mean, they joined up, and then the rest is history.
Fair enough. That's fantastic. So, you got into Bionicle right around 2002-ish, so right around the start of it.
Hmm.
Fair. And oh goodness, you said your first set was like Tahu, Liwa, and Galak. Of those, would you say you have a favorite?
Oh, Tahu, hands down.
Mark, consider me surprised. So, I'm familiar with you being on BZ Power and just creating a lot of things. So I know you as kind of almost one of the very, very early online content creators is how I'm familiar with your presence. How did you start getting into making videos and kind of creating things surrounding Bionicle and then sharing them with BZ Power?
Well, that's a story in of itself. So I didn't start making videos. I started by doing movie parodies. So
That's right.
I had this series of oh oh
Hmm?
Siri thought I was talking to her. Sorry about that.
That I can see how that would happen. Continue.
I had these series of comedies in the old comedy section of BZ Power where I would take the script of the movies and then write all kinds of crazy antics. And looking back, they were a little rough around the edges. There are still some jokes that hold up after all this time, but I really enjoyed doing that. it really got my creative juices going. I'd never written anything before really outside of school. So that was really fun to do, is just to get that out there, and they got well received. And then, I started writing other things, like more serious stories, and just the act of making things felt, I don't know, good. It was something to look forward to. I didn't didn't really join any extracurriculars after school because I really liked just the opportunity to to make things at home. I'm gonna go home after school, back when school ended at like 2:30, and have like 3 hours to write some fan fiction or do whatever it is I want. It was I must have been in grade 10 when I was taking communications technology, and we were learning about how to use Flash. And I'm like, oh, this is actually not too difficult to use. So I figured out, a couple tricks and learned some things of how to, use things like keyframes and how to program a button, all the basics of Flash. And then I just got this idea one day. I think it was like a half day or a snow day or something. And I'm like, I just creative spark hit me. I need to tell people this connection I've made between the song Chariots of Fire and the fact that Toa Norik has a rotuka that causes people to be slow, and the song is used for slow motion. I had to tell people this amazing connection I'd made. So in like the span of an afternoon, I wrote up this script, and this is back in my younger days. I only felt confident doing two different voices, so that's why they're very over the top British and Scottish voices. Those I felt were my best two at the time. Mm-hmm. My repertoire has since expanded. So I guess there's a third character in there. Anyway, yeah. Recorded the whole thing. Started cutting and pasting sprites into Flash. That is not the intended purpose of Flash. That is a major pain. Like everything was like animated by hand. Oh my gosh. Like you're supposed to be able to have some sort of artistic talent and draw things in Flash. I couldn't do any of that, so I just used one of those sprite kits and put it into Paint, and then had to paste it into Word, and then to paste it into Flash. It was it was a labor of love. Anyway, I released this one day in 2015, 2016, and people really liked it. Now, I think it helped that I was the only game in town, in that at this era of the internet, this is pre-YouTube, so like the main media that people were consuming were GIFs. And I don't know if you remember this. There was this really massive GIF movie by someone called Dark 709. Is this ringing any bells?
Yep, Dark 709. He was the king of comic films.
Yeah. So basically, he made a feature-length movie out of animated GIFs, which is that is impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing had sound, nothing had music, nothing had voices. And no one had Flash apart from me. So I mean, a couple people had it, but they weren't making things from it. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I basically had a monopoly on Bionicle videos with voice acting, which is interesting for a time.
Yeah.
And yeah, people like that. Prior to this call, I decided let's go back to memory lane and let's take a look. Do they hold up? All right, the first one does not hold up for the record. Oh man, so many things I would not have done were I making that today. So yeah, people like the first one. Hang on, let me go to the old YouTube channel to see which they were, because I always forget the order they came out. So the first one was the Toahaga, which is like half the video is a badly drawn sprite animation running to the song Chariots of Fire. And I'm like, oh, did that need to be the entire length that it was? Maybe yeah. I could have cut it down to like a quarter of that. Yeah, it's a 6-minute video. It probably only needed to be 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, there was that. No, yeah. Then the next one was the burn stuff PSA, where Tahu explains to everyone that Kopaka is a pyromaniac. That came from just my own research of. I mean, I'd seen lots of references to Tahu saying burn stuff. I'm like, is this like from TV? Is this a show I haven't seen? I did some digging. I did some very careful detective work to figure out what's the deal here. And then I found the origin of burn stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is like a piece of history. I need to tell people once again.
What
So,
was the history burn stuff? Because now that I think about it, I don't remember. Because it was a pretty common trope for Tahu in Bionicle Pixel comics to be a pyromaniac, but I don't remember where it
well,
came from.
if you had watched the video, you'd know.
It's been years since I've seen a video. I missed it. I got it right after Burn Stuff PSA. I start out with how to make a Zamor launcher. That was my
Oh,
first
okay,
one.
nice. Anyway, with that one, okay, recovery. With that one, it was from this guy called Tamiku, who I don't know, he was just a regular comic book artist or comic Bionicle comic artist, whatever that fad was on BC Power. I would say, like, no offense to him, like I would say there's nothing that like distinguished his comics from any of the others, but he started a cultural phenomenon of Tahu saying burn stuff. And I'm like, you know what, that deserves some recognition. So I made a video about it and then added some extra bits.
Interesting. Fair enough. Also, very briefly, you mentioned earlier when you posted the Tohaga PSA. You said 2014, 2015. You meant like 2004 or 05, right? Like,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
okay.
Yes.
Oh, I just want to clear that. I was like, wait a
Oh
second.
no. Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
The
Oh dear.
timeline, it's been distorted.
Yeah, my brain is 10 years in the past, 10 years in the future. Time is meaningless.
But please continue.
Okay. Yeah. So the next one, the one that I guess is your first one, is how to make a Xamarin launcher. That's like, I don't even know if I consider that one of the canon PSAs. It was like it's the shortest one. I made it in the least amount of time, but I made it specifically for a contest. So like it's not that I wanted to tell a story or to explain something. It was I want to win free stuff. That's why I made it. Which
No,
is a good enough reason, I guess, to make something.
did it work? Did you win the free stuff?
Oh, I won the free stuff. Let me
Okay,
assure you.
good.
What did I win? I won those contaminated How Nuvas that they released
Oh.
in 2003 for
Oh.
when Tahu gets poisoned in Mask of Light. And there's 4 variants of it, and I now have all 4 variants. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That's a good prize. That's
It was
awesome.
a good prize. Yeah, I think it was the first contest I ever won. And like it was great. I think I was like one of 2 people in the category, so pretty easy to win.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, again, it's it's an animated voice acted video, so that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Here's some behind the scenes stuff, which is I'm sure why everyone's tuning in right now.
Hmm.
If you've ever wondered why the character of Avak is Australian, I'm going to tell you right now. In the original draft of the cartoon, this guy I knew from Australia was going to be the voice of Avak, just because I don't know, I wanted to spice things up. I didn't want to be the only voice in the show, the videos I was making. And then he backed out at the last minute, couldn't record the lines in time, and I'm like, well,
Oh.
here's my best Australian.
As it usually is, I've found with Australian voices done by by Northerners, it's like, well, give it our best shot.
I would say, having lived in Australia now, my Australian accent is quite a bit better. So apologies to any Australians who've had to sit through that.
Fair enough. Um,
Um, but
that
yeah, I mean, it accomplished its job. I got my free stuff, you know.
yeah, that's reasonable. But then you got into the big two. These are the ones that I remember. One of them fundamentally changed for a period of time BZ Power signatures. And it was referenced in the video, and it absolutely happened. So After the How to Make a Xamarin Launcher PSA, and for anyone listening who might not be familiar with Spirit and his works, this can all be found on his YouTube channel, BZ Spirit, otherwise known as Spirit, all caps. There'll be a link in the description, no doubt. The next one afterwards was Takanuva's Recruitment PSA. Now tell me a little bit of the backstory behind that one.
Let me see. For that one,
It's a whopping
that one,
14
yeah,
minutes.
14 minutes. Like that was a decent one. Like it's got, well, I mean, it's got a song. It's got so much going on in there. So that one, I wish, I don't know, looking back, might have done things a little differently. So that was kind of to stroke my own ego a bit. I had won a contest that the Storyline and Theories Forum had run
Oh, that's right.
to make a canon piece of Bionicle story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the canon. I did it. Oh, I felt that was the proudest I've ever been. I created a piece of Bionicle lore, and it was canon.
I
Oh,
totally forgot about this. Like, I've read the story. Anyone who might be familiar with Bionicle should know the Dweller report. What in the world? I totally forgot that you did that. It's on
yep,
BSO1. It has your name there.
yeah, that was me. Yeah, with that, I mean, in hindsight, it didn't really mean anything because it didn't get published anywhere, and then it doesn't. So I think I've spoken to some people who are like, oh, so you created Dweller and everything? Nope, nope. I read the book, the Dark Hunters book that someone else created the bio for him, and the set and everything. And I'm like, well, this is an interesting story of this sleeper agent hiding in Metro Nui the whole time who makes nightmares. There's something going on here. We can make a story out of this. And then it didn't get published. And then, I mean, Dweller does make an appearance in one of the later books. I don't know if it's because of my story. I'm going to say that probably it was not. But and then nothing comes of it. But technically, it is canon, I must point out. Anyway, I'm a little upset when I realize that it's not going to be published. Nothing's going to come of this. My dreams of being a published author dashed at the I don't know when this came out, tender age of 16. So I made this kind of in response of, okay, so if Dweller's thing doesn't get written, maybe we could make sort of like guest appearances of different Toa applying for jobs on Metro Nui. There's an idea here. I can make something out of this. I'll have to bring up the video. I don't even remember who all the characters are. There's a story behind all of them. So yeah, Takanuva. That was my that was my best impression of the. I don't know if you've ever seen Fairly Odd Parents. The alien.
I can't
Mark
say.
Chang.
Can't say I'm familiar. No.
Okay, well that's what he sounds like, and that's that's the voice I chose for Takanuva. I'm sure you can come up with an explanation of, oh, he does lava surfing and he lived on an island. That's why he sounds the way he does.
Like a
That's
surfer dude.
yeah, and I mean, sure, that's why, not because that was one of the few voices I felt comfortable doing. Let's see, we'll just skip ahead. We got Krakua in there. Oh, and this is back in like all the people who've done these voices. I used to talk to them every day, and now they've all moved on. Unfortunately, they're no longer part of my online circle, which is sad.
That's unfortunate. I think I for a time I hung out with one of them, but we can get to that in just a moment. There's a through line, but so this is kind of it. Not only was it a project to kind of have fun, enjoy, talk about your contribution to the Bionicle story, but it's also kind of something you did with friends. Something fun to do with people you knew.
Exactly. Like I could make scripts, and they could read out the lines, and then it was something to collaborate on. I liked it. And yeah, I guess this one there you can clearly see some of the inspirations because I'd gotten into Family Guy at the time, so all the cutaway jokes, that's like a reference to that.
Oh.
Which, like from a creative perspective, the reason why Family Guy does that is because they have these jokes that they can't fit into the story. And then as I'm writing the script, I'm like, oh, I've got jokes I can't fit into the story. I know. and things like I mean, a lot of this was just me being bored in high school, like the the polar covalent bond joke.
Oh gosh. That
That was me being bored in chemistry class. Like I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
that makes so much sense. That took me ages, like when I was much younger and I saw it. It took me ages to get. It's like I know it's a James Bond reference. Polar covalent bond. And then I found out about it. It's like, of course! Gosh darn, that makes so much more sense now. That's interesting. So thankfully you spared us of being bored in math class. So I do
There we
appreciate
go.
that.
Oh yeah, and then there's the song, which like all the songs in the PSAs were composed in the shower. Of like, hey, these words rhyme. Hey, wait a minute, I can make this work.
I believe, oh gosh, you had three songs, if I'm recalling correctly.
Well, I can only remember three, so I'm going to assume that's correct.
Okay, yeah. So you had the one in the Recruitment PSA, and so this was for anyone who hasn't yet seen them. First of all, do so. This is a part of your history. But there was the one that was based off of, oh goodness, there's Backstreet Boys. There's that
Yep.
song, and then there were the two in the other PSA, which I think is arguably your most well known, just due to how elaborate it is. I figure we'll go ahead and get into that one, unless there's anything else you have to talk about regarding the recruitment PSA.
No, that's basically it.
Excellent. In that case, you released your magnum opus, the Mantax Facts PSA, where you gave Mantax the only amount of proper focus he has ever gotten and will ever get, given that Bionicle is now DOA. And this, like I said earlier, it fundamentally changed BZ Power signatures for a period of time. Go ahead and kind of elaborate on what the Mantax Facts PSA is.
So basically, it's like Chuck Norris facts, only they're Bionicle themed, um, which I weirdly got the idea for on uh, listening to a Harry Potter podcast that did the same thing for a Harry Potter version of that. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's another market to be tapped here. And then it just hit me one day. Wait a minute, what rhymes with facts? Mantax, facts. It just hit me. I got to make something out of this. But this is the part of the show where I will tell you about the secret missing episode
What?
that will never, ever be released because the script got deleted.
What? Ah.
So the premise was that it was this support group for the Bionicle characters that were blue in color but were male. And the joke was that everyone keeps misgendering them. So and they're feeling persecuted by the other characters, and that was the whole thing. So that's why in this one of the characters is Vizok, because well, that's like sort of the holdover from that. But like I got I don't know, maybe 3 pages into the script, and then it like the file got deleted somehow, and I was just so demoralized by that. I'm like, I can't write this again. I forgot all my ideas. It and there was I was going to continue the Rakshi getting named after Star Wars actors, and it just didn't. It's gone forever.
Gosh darn it, that sounds hilarious, because that's not the only other support group you've had or gathering of characters, and so that's amazing. So wait, then why was Lewa there?
Why was he there? I don't remember. No, it's cut. Oh, I do remember. It's because he was the only Toa, the only male Toa who hadn't appeared as a character yet. So Tahu, Kopaka, Pohatu, Onua had all appeared. Gali, I'm like, well, this is basically I only knew one female person with a microphone at the time, so that's why she was Holly and Galok, Kadok, whichever one it is, Gadok.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of a a rehash to do Gali again. I know. Lee was the only one who's missing. He'll go in next.
I see. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Also, I see you you pronounce it Lewa. Is this correct?
Liwa. I don't know. I don't know what it is
Oh.
anymore.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Liwa,
Well, hold on.
Lorenzo.
We
It's one of
hold
those.
on now, Lua. We draw the line there. No. Fair enough. Yeah, no, that was the person I was kind of referencing earlier. Lady K, Lady Kopaka. If I'm not mistaken, she was that voice actress, and I kind of talked to her as well a little after the fact, and there's still a through line, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But so the Mantax Facts PSA again fundamentally changed BZP signatures because you came up with all of these different Mantax facts, and then people would add them to their signatures in lieu of Chuck Norris facts. And it was kind of interesting seeing how this video had such a, I mean, I say cultural impact, but you know what I mean. It had such an impact on BZ Power, the website, as far as the community was concerned. How did you kind of feel as that was happening?
I mean, it's kind of what I was going for. This is back when I had a bit more of an ego. So like I mean, the video talks about, hey, people should in their signatures, like some sort of mind control type thing. And hey, it worked. So yes, the part of the reason for this was to create. I mean, we didn't even use the term meme back then, but that's what it was. Is trying to create a meme, viral internet sensation. Which I mean worked out, and I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
And this one also got submitted for a contest. I don't know if you know about that.
I did not.
So this is what are they called? That's really bad. I can't remember. The people who did the Bionicle graphic novels, paper cuts. I want to say.
Yeah, paper cuts with a Z.
Yes. They ran a contest for someone to create a Bionicle viral video. And I'm like, yeah, I got this. So I submitted. Oh man, this is a rough time in my life. So this is grade 12. Things are wrapping up for the year. I've got university applications to take care of. I've got my summer job that's I'm doing training for, and the deadline for this contest is fast approaching, and people are taking their time with their submitting their lines, and I got to animate everything, and things are just taking forever, and like the some of the sprites aren't copying over correctly, and it's just pulling out my hair over this. Anyway, somehow I managed to get it all done. I think I submitted it like a couple hours past the deadline, but I did technically, I don't know, whatever. I won the contest. It doesn't matter. So the guy from Papercuts emails me, and he's like, all right, everyone in the office thinks your video is fantastic, but unfortunately it's too long for what we're doing. I guess this is back when YouTube had that 10-minute limit on their videos. So I did a couple of cuts for them. And I think the final version was like 10 minutes long. So like some of the cutaways get taken out, that sort of thing. But like, well, first I took out all the songs, and they're like, no, leave those in. We love the songs. I'm like, well, that's like, they take forever. What else do you want me to cut? So in the end, I think I won like $250 of books from their company. Like it was pretty sweet.
That's fantastic. So you're telling me here that a company called Paper Cuts asked you to do some cuts without paper?
Hey, yes, that is exactly what happened.
Fair enough. Okay. So I didn't know about the contest. Obviously I knew it existed, of course, and that it just nearly fundamentally changed signatures for at least a little while. But that's fascinating. I didn't even know Paper Cuts did contests. So,
well, they only did the one, and I smashed it. So
fair enough. Wow. Okay, that's impressive. So now, obviously enough, all these are on YouTube. Thank goodness. They're preserved. I remember there was a time when they weren't on YouTube, but they also weren't really easily accessible on BZ Power either. I think you held them up on a site.
They are currently hosted on BSO1.
Wait, okay, that makes a lot of sense in hindsight. Fair enough.
But they are visible on my own personal. Oh, what is it? What is the free website I've got? Free webs, does that exist
It's
anymore?
been too long since I've been to the website you had them on.
Yeah, free webs. Oh, page not found. That's not good.
Oh, well. See what I mean about being
Uh-oh.
preserved on YouTube?
Okay, well, yes, they are all on YouTube. So some of them have been digitally remastered. Some typos have been removed. The animation has been tightened up to fit into the um, dimensions of a YouTube video. Which when I didn't even think about that when I was making them in Flash. I'm like, oh, I don't even need to worry about dimensions. I can make them whatever dimensions I want them to be. So yeah, they're now all available for your viewing pleasure.
Fantastic. And a pleasure it is because they are some of the. I personally believe they're some of the funniest Bionicle videos that have come out. Period.
No, thank you.
Absolutely, they're great because I remember watching them just almost like back during a time where the internet I had was dial-up, and so I had to wait for them to load. It was always worth it because they'd just be so. The production value at the time was really really high because nobody else outside of course, comic makers on BZ Power, Dark 709 with his just massive production scheme with the second movie and working on the third. Nobody else was really doing stuff like this, and absolutely nobody was doing Bionicle music parodies. If I'm not mistaken, these are the first.
They might be the only. I mean,
Uh,
there might be others out there.
there are others out there now, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're the first. Reasonably
Okay,
confident.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. So it's they set a precedent. There's definitely a lot of humor that at least I know I reference time and time again, just in casual conversation because it's for the Bionicle community. They're kind of a part of the history. Um, Another thing which I feel almost gets a little understated are your parodies, your written parodies of the films, and then eventually Journey to One. And this is a through line that I was originally I kept on talking about and I'm coming back to now. I think it was after the Mantax Facts PSA. Correct me if I'm wrong. You released a written comedy parody of The Legend Reborn.
Yes, hang on. Yes. That is the correct timeline of events.
Okay, fantastic. And I remember that's the only one that I have actually read thus far. I've been meaning to go back and read the others, but the reason that one sticks out to me so much is because I remember sitting in a call with Lady Kopaka and other friends of mine from BZ Power and reading through the parody in call and just voicing all the characters and just going through the entire thing. And it was immensely fun to do. We would just hang around, go through it all, laugh at what is written, and just completely voice it out. So that's why that one sticks out to me. And I remember Lady Kopaka, and we would all talk about that, and just it was a good time. So thank you for providing those good times, even if you may not have realized it.
Well, I had a lot of fun making them. I'm glad you.
Excellent, fantastic.
And
Yes.
oh, I was going to say that only recently have they, as well, that particular one been available to the public because there was a brief period of time where it was lost forever. And I'm going to give this person a shout out because he completely saved my life by keeping a backup of the entire thing. Because my backup did not survive. And I don't know. I reached out and said, "Hey, does anyone a backup of this?" And he totally did. Oh, it's really bad that I can't find him.
I'm sitting here thinking, do I know who this is? I'm not sure.
Here we go. His name, as soon as this loads, is Meglatorian.
Okay, the answer is no. I do not know who that is, but
Well,
I
he's only
will.
ever made 18 posts on on the website. But he is the savior of the awesomest TLR spoof.
Fair enough. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and thank him as well. And I'm probably going to go ahead and read that again. So, what was your thought process writing those specifically? Like, what did you choose to parody? What did you choose to just, kind of leave on its own? How, what did you decide to mess with, and then have fun with as you were creating those?
Well, I guess it changed with each one. So, like with the first one, it's I don't know. I mean, I just took all the characters and lowered their IQs by like 50 points. Um, so they just misinterpret things. A lot of the characters are really angry. I realize, and that's what I noticed writing the jazziest JTO spoof is. I'm just not an angry person anymore. Like the director character who was famous for constantly getting angry at the characters for not following the script and for saying stupid things. Like in this one, he's just whatever, guys. Just I can't be bothered.
He's given up at this point.
Yeah, he's completely given up. Which I mean is I feel like a metaphor for life. When you get to a certain age, you just whatever. Um, yeah, well, I don't know if I necessarily had a story to tell, but it was like when the movies came out, I would have been 13 when Mask of Light came out. And like I realized that it wasn't, the best movie ever, but like it was Bionicle in movie form. Like I liked it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I watched it a couple times. I'm like, there are some jokes to be made here. It is helpful when writing a funny story when you have sort of um, the plot of the movie to go by. That gives you some structure to an otherwise complete pile of insanity. And then when you run out of jokes, you can just continue on with the story.
Yeah, I can see that.
And yeah, I guess that's kind of how they went. And then each of them has, I guess, whatever I thought was funny at the time. There's like little bits and pieces where I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I got that joke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. I guess once I had written the first one, I kind of felt. I guess that was right, very close to when the next movie was coming out. So I'm like, well, let's keep the party going. And then I did the one for Legends of Metro Nui, and then I did that a lot closer to that movie's release. So I had like a year until the next one came out. And I guess hype had been built up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited to get another shot at this. And that was my attitude for all of them. People really like the last one. I bet I can still do it for the next one. But oh my gosh, the Journey to one took forever. I'm just an old man now. Like I work 4 10-hour days a week. And when I get home, I do not want to write comedic Bionicle fan fiction. Like that's not my
What
first
are you
inclination.
sure? Goodness. That makes a lot of sense, of course. But hey, you got it done. You're finished. No, wait, is it finished? Pretty sure it is.
It is. So I started
Okay.
August 1st, 2016. The last chapter came out uh,
Trying to think. I
any
can't
second
remember.
now. It came out March 31st, 2018. So
Okay.
like 2 years to write it.
Ugh, goodness. But hey,
But it is done.
better late than
I've got
never.
a perfect batting average on all the movies.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's fair. And no, are those still up on BZ Power? Because that I don't think those are hosted on BSO1.
No, they are all reposted after the whole website got wiped. Well, I mean, prior to that, I envisioned a time of when they might not be available. So I did manage to get archived versions of all of them except for um, Legend Reborn, which thanks to that Meglatorian, we managed to restore and bring back. So they're all 5 are available on BC Power. I don't know if you want links to those or.
Yeah, I will absolutely put those in the description. I think
Okay.
they're certainly worth the read. So I think it's very interesting nowadays to I don't know how active you are in the Bionicle community generally, because I was introduced to you by, personally, by Swart. So shout out to Swart, the head owner of Biosector One. Thank you very, very kindly. And of course, thank you, Spirit, for being on and taking the time to be here today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome, fantastic. But yeah, so I don't think you haven't been super involved in the Bionicle community as of recent.
Oh, but I
Okay.
have. I've
Oh.
just been secretive about it. I don't know. Like I don't know. So here's my secret identity revealed. I am the I guess the head of uh, BSO1 social media. So I don't
Oh.
know if you follow BSO1 on Facebook or Twitter, but all those memes are from me. I'm the guy who does those.
Oh, because I follow BS1 on Twitter, and I see the memes. I've retweeted a few of them. I'm like, Sword, did you make these? I've never asked him. I just sat there and assumed. I was just like, well, his avatar looks pretty similar. I know it's the BSO1 account. Probably he did them. That makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, so I basically when Bionicle came back, we BSO1 needed a social media presence, and I'm like, yeah, I do social media. I'd never done it officially, but I've faced a book and I've tweeted a Twitter, so I'm like, sure, I'll do it. So now we're sitting at like a thousand followers on each platform, give or take. So that was exciting to see the build up through the second generation of Bionicle to where we are now, and we're still getting likes. I mean, people really like stupid memes. Like that's it's food for the masses.
Yeah, that is fair. It's memes are good. They're fun. I will never get over this. But my favorite recent meme, and the reason why I think 2019 has at least started decently, was that Liwa Mata axe meme of him chopping down, and people would add a bunch of text to that. I didn't think I would see the day Liwa Mata ended up being a meme. It just like al dente. That's some good
Hmm.
stuff. But wow, okay,
Oh,
that
it's interesting the how Bionicle is just it now lives on through memes.
it really does though. I mean, outside of the community interactions, in the public eye, Bionicle is it's memes. It's something that people kind of fondly remember. It's like an early 2000s deal. But I obviously I attribute a lot of that to the fact that the marketing for Generation 2 was so slim, it was slim pickings, and no one really knew it came back. So that's perfectly reasonable. On that note, obviously enough, you've been involved in the community for an extensive amount of time. You've been really involved in creating. You're one of the early, creators of things outside of at least the comics form. So, to you, from your perspective, how much has the Bionicle community changed in your eyes?
Well, I think the internet has changed since I was just a teenager on internet forums. I mean, forums are they've died away for the most part. I mean, there are a couple of active out there, but they're not the main way people connect on the internet anymore. We've got social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. This is how people connect through larger websites that have smaller communities nestled within them. Um, I mean, there are websites still for whatever your interest is, but that's not where people congregate anymore. Which is, I mean, it's always we always think back to the good old days of how things used to be, and um, it's kind of sad. I liked being a big fish in a small pond in the Bionicle fandom, which is a little harder to do in modern day internet world. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think in that regard, I do kind of miss it. Um, I mean, a lot of the people I knew are no longer. Um, but I mean, that's just part of life, unfortunately. There are still some people though that, I've stayed in contact with them, and I've probably known them longer than a lot of the real life friends that I have. So that's been good. Um, yeah, I mean, it's probably still a lot of the same people, but it's just they're in different places and harder to reach than they used to be.
That's reasonable. That's an interesting perspective because I don't necessarily think you're wrong either. Because in a lot of ways, the internet gradually has shifted, and that's not a point often broached. That social media is really where all the discussion takes place, even though that is much to my chagrin, specifically in lieu of Facebook. However, I digress.
Hmm.
um, Even still, you've managed to, you've kept up a little bit. I think a lot of people might recognize you more so, not necessarily for the PSAs, but instead for more of the YouTube centric stuff that you've done, specifically the Bionicle in under minute 30 and under 2 minutes, which is, yeah.
Yes, that is my most viewed video, which unfortunately got demonetized. Ugh.
Wait, what? Why?
What was it? I think it's because there's like a frame from I can't remember who did the
Was
who
it the
did the
Heroes
takedown.
frame?
It might be that frame. It might just be the fact that it's all Bionicle pictures. Like
That still
if
shouldn't be a thing. You're using it's
I don't know.
transformative. What?
I don't know. They did a takedown claim. Wasn't worth my time to deal with it. So right now, Bionicle in under 2 minutes has
71,000.
71,000. That's not half bad.
Not at all.
Um, like that's very popular. And when I was making, I guess the first one I made for a contest, like it's like so many of my creative muses. It's how can I get free stuff?
I was about to say, I think if we want another PSA, we're gonna have to entice you first.
I know. Hey, I mean, I will do work if you pay me.
That's reasonable.
But when I was writing the original one, second one is just the same thing, only with like 30 seconds tacked on the end of. The first one is uh, storyline years 2001 to 2008, and the second one just has all of everything in Generation One. But as I was writing the script for the first one, like I kept bursting into laughter because it was so funny. Like just the abridged versions of like things where I have been waiting for, like checking the mailbox every day. When am I going to find out what happened to the Toa? How are they going to fight the Borok? What's going to happen next? Years and years of that condensed into a minute and a half. It was just like the funniest thing, and I think that's what I've seen as a good indicator that you're doing something right. Is if at least you find it funny, hopefully at least one other person will. But yeah, I really enjoyed making that of. It was very different to what I'd done before, and it kind of let me make fun of the different things that happen in the story. Um, but yeah, it's I'm one of my most popular videos. I'm really glad people like it.
Okay, see, I really like that philosophy. I like that. If at least you find it funny, maybe at least one other person will. I always have a little more of a self-deprecating version of that. I like to laugh at my own jokes because if I don't, no one else will. So I like
Well,
yours
there
a
you
lot
go.
more.
And I mean, there are some things that I've made of like in my parody stories or in my videos where like I made the joke and like I'm not proud of it. Like I didn't find it funny, but I'm like, oh well, other people will find this funny. Um, which I guess, in looking back, I'm like, well, I don't want to make things that are funny because people will find them funny. I want things that I will find funny. I'm not looking to cater to people. I'm looking to do things that I like, things that I can stand behind.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm 100% behind that philosophy because a lot of obviously a lot of humor. You want people to laugh, of course, but if you're not finding it enjoyable, if you don't find what you're saying, doing, creating fun for you, then there's not much more of a point outside of maybe a holla holla gada dala, which on YouTube, I mean, apparently they are demonetizing picture slideshows with no other copyrighted material outside of pictures in which their use is transformative. But
Yep. Well, after that got demonetized, my entire channel's been demonetized because I'm not making videos anymore.
That's
Um,
fair.
so I think so far I've managed to accrue like $5 of
Whoa.
Google money Google AdSense money. So
Huh.
they won't send you any until you make $100. So
Cool,
I'm still waiting on that.
cool your jets, Mr. Moneybags. You know, some of us don't make that sweet YouTube cash. But yeah, but yeah, I'm 100% behind that. What would you say to people that are in the Lego community generally? Let's say all of Lego who really want to join in, want to create things, be it videos, comedies, what have you. What would you recommend that they do to get started and really, dip their toe in the water?
Well, I would say that a lot of what I did was me dipping my toes in the water of like the first Flash video I made is objectively bad. Like like I mean there are jokes in it, I guess, but like it, I mean there are mistakes in there, like I said, that I wouldn't be making now because I know what I like, and I guess that's part of it. So step one is don't be afraid to try new things. Of like I was brand new to Flash, I was brand new to recording my voice for things, to making everything. A lot of it was very self-taught. And I guess the other thing I do, I found myself doing then, I find myself doing now, is I look at what do I like about other things that I see, like not necessarily copying them, but all right, how is this paced? What are some of the techniques they're using to make this good? Like in terms of the number of characters, the interactions between the characters. If I can emulate something that I like, I get a product that's what I like as well. So yeah, I guess two things are try whatever you want. Maybe something will work out, maybe it won't. And then try to find out the best parts of the things that you do like and see if you can make those your own as well.
All right. I think that's some pretty solid advice. Fantastic. Now, uh, usually what we do around here is we get to a little bit of a segment toward the end where we have everyone listening in send in some questions. So if everyone in the live YouTube chat would like to send any questions in, go for it. However, I have a friend of mine who had a very important question. He's obviously from BZ Power as well. He's another comic maker, and he really enjoyed your works. He had the most important question I think will be asked today. Will we ever see Mantax Facts PSA 2?
I mean, sad to say, probably not. Flash animation is just such a pain in the butt. If I could get someone to animate for me, I would probably make more videos. I just hate it so much. And I wish I didn't. I wish I enjoyed animation. I know some people, they love animating. They make such beautiful things. Animating was my least favorite part of anything that I had to do. But I needed visuals. I couldn't just do a radio play. So I mean, hey, if there are any aspiring animators who will work for free, yes. Then, but otherwise, no.
You know what you gotta do. You gotta take that sweet YouTube cash and you gotta put it back into YouTube. So, what you should be saying, if there are any animators who will do amazing work for a total of 5 smackaroos, you know.
Oh, I shouldn't have advertised. I was so rich. I've only got $4. Let me $4. That's all I got.
Well, dang, I don't know if there are any animators who will work for $4. Well, 5? No.
I could be. We'll talk. Send me a message.
Fantastic. Excellent. Excellent. But yeah, so we'll give it just a moment and see if there are any questions specifically pertaining to the subject matter. But do you think you'd ever get back to creating other things outside of the BS01 memes? Or really jump back into the fray?
For Bionicle or just in general?
Either or.
I keep telling myself, this is something I should do. It's like one of my sort of semi New Year's resolutions is to get back into making stuff. Which here we are in March, and that hasn't happened yet. So any day now, it's gonna start up. Um, yeah, like I liked making things. I guess the hard part is when you work, your time is suddenly at a premium, and maybe you want to come home and just watch stupid top 10 videos on YouTube all day long, and even that's not what you want to do. That's all your brain is able to do. Um, but yeah, it's my New Year's resolution that hopefully I'll get to do something this year.
Okay, that's reasonable. Fair enough. All right, in that case, we only have one question for tonight. It is from Trimundius, who asks, on a scale from 1 to blackened Ignika Matorn universe, how dead is BZP right now?
Ooh, it's not looking good, and I wish that weren't the case. Like let's pop on over, see how many online members they've got right now. Um, seven, seven. Oh man, uh, that's a sad thing to see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean it's pretty dead. It's pretty crispy Ignika version. Um,
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I don't know if I'd call it dead as much as I would. Well, then again, I wouldn't call it inactive either, because BZ Power staff still do a lot of the upkeep. There is still some discussion, although it is very minimal, and they still have contests and giveaways, and there's still things to do and be drawn to BZ Power for.
and that's the thing. Like there is still stuff. Like there are still people. Like if you look at their raffles, it's like 100 people each time that like participate.
Yeah.
Um, so like it's not that no one is there, but it's not the way it used to be, which I think is disheartening to lots of people. I go back and maybe so and so is back. No, they're not back.
Mhm.
Which is sad to see.
Yeah. No. Well, no, that's fair. But we actually do have some other questions. At the last minute save. Two questions and a comment. SH Rocodioria, sorry, I completely butchered that. HS Rucodiora. There we go, much better. Question for Spirit. Was there anything you made that you thought was hilarious, but didn't get as much of a laugh as you'd expected?
Ooh, well, I think part of part of BC Power being wiped is that I was able to do some revisionist history, and I only kept the things that were popular. Um, there was one contest I entered. Now this was, I mean, one of the difficulties that BZ Power always had with contests is that they ended up being a bit of a popularity contest rather
Yep,
than like an actual was this any good
I
contest.
know that.
Um, and so with that, there was one where you had to submit anonymously. I'm like, oh well, I probably got some to my writing, and I submitted it and I didn't win. And I'm like, well, that's just how it goes. Um, which is a little bit of an ego check back then. And unfortunately, that story has been lost to time, so I don't know if I could look at it in hindsight and see, oh well, it maybe wasn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess as well, like if you have a presence online and you are, I mean, you play to your own character, and I guess I had made a character of who I was online, and so I guess when I told jokes or made things, people are like, oh well, this comes from Spirit. We know his sort of general sense of humor, that sort of thing. Things that people didn't find funny. I guess getting started, I was surprised that anyone even gave my work a second look. Um, yeah, I guess it's maybe not the funny things that I wish I had gotten a better reception, but maybe the less funny things. So I also did like some serious stories as well, which they got some reception, but like I put so much time and effort into them, much
Mm-hmm.
more than my funny stuff. Like it's like, comedy is easy, but dying's hard. or whatever it is, the reverse of that. But like the serious stuff, like I basically wrote a feature length novel, published that online for free. And they got a couple of comments. I'm like, oh man. So that's my answer to that question.
Okay, fair enough. Do you aspire to be still aspire to be a published author?
I guess. I mean, in the back of my mind, that would be if I had free time, no writer's block, and some ounce of self discipline. I've got a book kicking around in the back of my mind that I've been, writing little stories and coming up with characters for it, and it's also a good exercise for falling asleep. Of all right, let me not think about today. Let me think about the world of this book that I'm writing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I guess I don't know. I've brought up work a lot, and I don't know if this question is going to come up, but I would like to talk about what it is I do for work because I think it's very unique. And I'm always interested in like a where are they now type thing of people I knew online of all right, what are they doing now? Like what did that that teenager making videos online grow to become?
I'm actually kind of interested because I haven't asked yet, but I am
Uh,
curious.
I'm working as a speech language pathologist, and I'm helping children with autism learn how to speak.
Huh. That's incredibly unique. That's fascinating. I can imagine that's a there's a lot of dynamics to that. Like that's a very fascinating job.
Oh, it certainly keeps me busy. I'll say that. Every client's a little different. Every day is a new adventure or miss it. Um, I mean, I do complain about being exhausted after work, but I really do enjoy what I do.
Hmm. I can imagine there's probably a lot of exhaustion, but there's also a lot of fulfillment to doing that kind of work.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I think that's what I like the most about it
Hmm.
is when you get to see some progress after months and months of work, and finally the kid can finally pronounce an sh sound, and oh, feels good.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic. It, I, I don't figure so. The words that you would use to do you focus more on general words or general sounds that form into words?
What depends. For some children, it's my main goal is just to get them to communicate. So for children who are nonverbal, I mean, you can start with teaching them speech sounds, but if you're like 6 or 7 and you're not necessarily talking with your mouth, that's not necessarily the place I go first. We now turn to the speech therapy portion of the show. So what I would do is with those children, I start getting them to communicate, making intentional requests for things that they want,
Hmm.
which often comes from either them from me teaching them how to give the picture of what they want to an adult, or for them learning how to type out what it is they want on a special iPad program that will then read out what they want to say.
Hmm.
And then once that's established, then we can do, and they can finally get their basic needs met. Then we can do more work on getting them to pronounce words, getting them to practice using their voice more often. It's a lengthy process, and unfortunately, many families would just prefer I wave a magic wand and make their child speak, and it's not so easy. That's what I went. That's what I went to school for, is to learn how to wave that magic wand.
Fair enough. You know, I'm yeah. Well, what's that one quote? I'm trying to remember. Nothing worth having comes easy. Something to that effect.
Exactly, and everyone wants it the easy way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's interesting. That's a fascinating job to have. All right, I'm glad we have that where are they now perspective here because I always wonder that as well. Like where'd Dark Summer 9 ever go? Where
Yeah,
did
where did he go? Is he still making GIF movies? Is there a market for that?
I'm sure there is. It's just far different than it was back then. All right.
What happened to the other 708 Darks? Where did they go?
Was he cloned? Are they all dead?
Oh, he was a clone. That was I completely forgot about that. And that's the whole premise of the thing. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Mystery solved.
So the next question is from Sakota, who asks, Spirit, do you still like Lego System?
Um, I like it, but it's hard to find room in my life for it. I recently got a couple of the new Harry Potter sets, which were fun to build. I do some of the reviews for the BSO1 social media team because um, Lego will give us review copies of sets. I'm like, oh, sure, whatever, I'll review. I'll put my journalistic writing to use. Um, I but I'm not going out of my way to buy them because I don't have room in my life. Like I live in an apartment that if I were to go all in on Lego, it would I would end up on Hoarders in not very much time. Um, so I guess I'm not quite where I was when I was but a young lad. But
Mm-hmm.
I do still enjoy it. I keep an eye on it just to see, is there what else is going on in Lego these days. But I'm not following it as avidly as I used to when I was younger, unfortunately.
That that's reasonable. That actually does remind me, though. Um, the podcast you were talking about earlier, the Harry Potter podcast, was that by any chance Pottercast?
Ooh, it was Mugglecast.
Oh, or maybe it was MuggleCast. I, the only reason I ask, I'm not in Harry Potter basically at all. However, I've obviously been involved in another online podcast, Bionicle Beginning podcast called the TTV Podcast, and that was started by a guy who was inspired by a Harry Potter podcast. So that's why I was asking.
Well,
That'd be kind of a
well, there
funny.
there was a time in addition to my lengthy resume of other things I've where I did my own podcast. And this was like back in like the dawn of the internet. Of like same thing. I'd been inspired by this Harry Potter podcast. Only I didn't have any money, so for hosting, I figured out that you could host .wav files on Brickshelf. So that was my podcast.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
I cannot imagine the upload times for that.
It wasn't too bad. Like I had high speed internet in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like it worked, I guess. It was serviceable. But ooh, I have not listened to them since. I cannot imagine they've aged gracefully. They are still uploaded though. If you care to delve the depths of the internet to find them, they are still available to any treasure hunters.
Interesting. I might have to look into that. Honestly,
Uh
'cause that sounds fascinating. Because I'm coming up on my 10 years doing podcasting in November, and that's a trip down memory lane, seeing how far things have come along. So fair enough. My goodness. All right. In that case, we'll do this one comment here, and then we'll have this one last question. So this comment here is by Nick Voss, who says, "Hi, Spirit. I'd like to say that the stuff you make has been a massive inspiration to everyone in the Bionicle community across all time, and we'd absolutely love to see more stuff from you."
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wish I could make more stuff. I think the hard part is that they're not making new Bionicle stuff, so it's not as fresh to go on about it. Like I say, I mean, if there are any animators willing to work bucks, hit me up. But I mean, I wish I had a more honorable way of making art. But right now, my quote unquote art is the memes posted on BSO1 social media. So that's what I'm up to these days. But like I really am glad what I made had a lasting impact. That lots of people had a chance to enjoy it. Which I mean, how many things have I made? Have I done that? You know, it's a flash in the pan, or I think something to myself that's really funny, and then an hour later I don't remember it ever again. But I got to make these things. I got to show people these things. Um, I'm glad that people like them. That's at the end of the day. That's what I was trying to do, is to make people laugh.
Fair enough. All right. In that case, we'll go ahead and end things with this last question, or at least the last submitted question from Sir Wift. Spirit, what's your opinion about BZ Power's early years?
Well, I guess an important qualifying question is what do you mean by early years? So I joined in 2003, so I didn't see the very beginning of the website. Um, but I did get to see a lot of it grow. Um, so many memories of Saturday mornings of everyone else is asleep, and there I am going through crazy theories and everything. Like I've got like 10,000 posts on the website. Like I've put in my time. Um, I became staff. I became more senior staff. I retired from that. Took a little hiatus to focus on myself, and came back. And um, yeah, I kind of got to see things change. I think where BCP is now, um, at least in terms of how the website is run, is better than where it used to be. There's not the I guess there was always this sense of, if you one toe out of line, you instantly banned, or it felt like there were a lot of rules that you had to abide by, and not always clear what the rules were. Sometimes it felt like you were at the mercy of the whims of the moderators. Whereas now, I think they're just happy to get anyone posting on their site. Um, but like I remember lots of the April Fool's jokes they would do, all the contests, getting to not necessarily know people, but you recognize them because they're posting all the time. Um, and I'm probably looking at a lot of it through rose tinted glasses, but I did really enjoy the early uh, of BZ Power, and yeah, I don't know if the future of internet will be to return to smaller websites. I kind of feel like it won't be, but it was good while it lasted. I think I will say that.
That's reasonable. Yeah, I can echo a lot of those sentiments. But I'll also say, being a little bit of a rabble rouser on BZ Power in the earlier days of my BZ Power existence, I will say that the staff were a lot more lenient to me in certain circumstances than I would have otherwise expected. So thank you, BZ Power staff, for those times. But you're right. There was definitely an aura of things are a little strict. Watch your T's and Q's, but you know.
Well, like when they had the rule where you couldn't talk forums, you couldn't even mention the word YouTube.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it, especially like when you're pushing into the late 2000s, like it felt very archaic. Of people know what YouTube is. It's 2009. We're not living under rocks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get what they were after. They wanted to make a child site. You can't guarantee what's going to happen once you leave the bzpower.com URL. But I think with that, like they probably could have laxed it a bit of, how hard is it to search a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, another thing is, parents just watch what your kids are doing online. That's, I mean, if it were only so simple, we wouldn't even need internet moderators. But like I appreciate what they were doing, but I think where at least the rules are now, it's a lot more sensible. I
Yeah.
just wish they had the active fan base that they once did, and maybe for Bionicle Generation 3, something will reignite. But until then, we'll just wait for that fateful day.
Yeah, no, bide our time. Although we cannot forget some of the wonderful things that BZ Power's odd rule set has granted us, and specifically in the way of, I'm sure some of us are and cool dudes to this very day.
I will always be N cool dude.
Nobody who was no, nobody was who was not on BZ Power will understand that. Oh boy. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap things up. I think that's a good place to put it. All right, so Spirit, again, thank you so much. Hopefully you've had a fun time. This has been insightful. I had quite a fun time chatting with you about all these things, going down memory lane. That has been a blast.
I have had a fantastic time. Anytime you want to reminisce or have me back on the show, I would be more than happy to appear.
Fantastic. Excellent, excellent. In that case, I will ask the question I ask all my guests. Do you have any social media or any links that you want me to put in the description or anywhere that you want people to follow you at?
I mean, I guess my social media, quote unquote, is the BSO1 social media. I am the brains behind that, so that's me. So I mean, it's not me, but it's me. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's probably the best way to reach me, honestly, these days.
Okay, fair enough. Excellent. In that case, I'll go ahead and put that in the description. I'll put your YouTube channel down there as well, and any of the oh goodness, what are they? Any of the parodies, the comedies that you have written. And I highly encourage anyone to go and check those out. I can guarantee they are all a very good time. Okay, and with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you all so very much for listening. Hopefully, you had a good time, be it the live version or the recorded version, which will be up hopefully over the weekend. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, make sure to post in the comments, not the description. I was about to say description for some reason. Post in the comments below. If you want updates or guest announcements every single Tuesday, make sure you head on over to my Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen. And do know that if you have any questions over the week that you want me to have and know where they are, head on over to my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com. That is JOHNSEN. See, I'm building up to something, and I'm thinking about it's in the back of my mind, and it's throwing me off completely. So let me go ahead and just restart that. Eljay Johnsen Show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the last show that is going to air at Eastern Standard Time because unfortunately we're going back to daylight time. That's what I need to get on my system. So we're going back to Eastern Daylight Time, and it sucks, and I hate it. Ugh. Anyway, comments, questions, go ahead and leave them down below. If you want updates and guest announcements every Tuesday, Eljay Johnsen at the Eljay Johnsen, and email is ljjohnson@gmail.com. All right, that's enough saying my name. We're done. Whew. That was a train wreck. Thank you all so very much for listening. We will see you all again next week. Farewell.